What's on your mind the most politically right now? And like and just, not the whole, take it whatever way you want to go. But you've always been you've done comedy since you were 19, but you've always been interested in politics. What's the through line? Yeah.
What I've been doing recently, and it's what I'm always doing, but I've been doing a little bit more now is, talking to friends in other country and trying to see what's going on there. I have a friend who's in Taipei, and that's one of the countries that seems like is doing better than almost anybody.
Taiwan's done really well.
They got on it so early, and there's here, if you're sick, they just tell you to stay home. That's where we're at as a country. Oh, you're not. It's not like if you're not going to be dying in the next hour, stay home. In Taiwan, people can go to the hospital and get taken care of, even if if it's an absolute emergency. So I don't know. Recently, I've been trying to just see what other countries are doing and how they're responding and how their governments are responding and thinking and planning. And then, I think about this country, how it's just, even if you look at it compared to European countries, I think we're a much more capitalist country than Europe.
Definitely. Yeah.
Even in Europe, even in London, on Sunday, their stores are closed. It's like New York has 24-hour electronic stores. If you want to get something at a certain hour, it's like, you just got to wait a couple days. If it's Saturday night and you want to get something, you're like, oh yeah, you just got to wait till Monday. And we're like, what? And they have pubs where you can just walk in there, sit on a couch, not order anything, talk with people for 2 hours, and nobody will tell you to order anything, and then you can leave. And that's okay. It's just like, that's a bizarre concept here. We're much more buy, shop, sell.
Right. Even within those super limited differences, it's crazy.
Yeah. And then, even in, so many places, they'll have things that are fucked up, but at least so many of them will have some kind of a universal healthcare system. So at least you don't have to worry about that shit so much. And so it's just, here in this country, and obviously we're doing much better than a lot of countries out there. There's a lot of countries that are, more corrupt than us, and don't have much infrastructure or money. But when you see a government in this country that's actively not just doing a bad job or an incompetent job, but actually intentionally doing a bad job and trying to hurt people and make things hard on people, it's scary and it's angering. And so the thing I think about a lot is how do we fight? How do we succeed? How do we get rent canceled? How do we get some kind of universal basic income for a while at least? You got all these. We're in a historic pandemic, and Congress goes on vacation.
Literally on vacation.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
If everyone's not going crazy with that, it's like, when you have companies like Amazon that make billions or trillions of dollars and basically don't pay taxes, if you're not protesting that, what are you going to protest? And then, I try to think about, all right, well, how bad is it going to get? Because I remember I read the graphic novels, Maus. Did you ever read those?
No, I never read those.
Art Spiegelman.
I've heard of them, but I never read them.
Oh, it's so good. It's basically.
Have you guys read those? No.
Yeah, it's Maus. And it's basically him talking to his father, who's a Holocaust survivor. And then he tells the story about, going through, the Holocaust during World War II. And because, so many people think, they're like, well, that was terrible, but how could it really have happened? And it's just all these little steps. One little step of change, another little step of change. And even if you look at, with this pandemic that's going on, I remember being in New York, and I think it was like first week of March, the rules started changing. They started talking about it, and they're like, okay, no venues, you're not allowed to, no concerts at a place that's greater than 1,000 people. And then 2 days later be like, okay, it's 500. And then the next day it's like 250. And you're like, okay, what the fuck is going on here? It's like,
right.
Either you guys are slow, you don't know anything, or you know something, but nobody's going to believe you if you just say we're shutting the city down without any baby steps first, And so all these things that happen, just like, New York canceling the presidential primary, it's like, okay, that's a step. What's the next step going to be? So.
Right. I love that you say that, because I think this is another, obviously we got to stay in and isolate and all of that. Nobody's questioning that. And you got to question the people that are questioning that, frankly. But at the same time, like you cannot just give the worries about civil liberties, and you can't just let that be. And so much of what's happened in the last several years is and again, it's this other like bullshit liberal, like, oh, that's an Alex Jones thing. I don't know that being concerned about surveillance is just an Alex Jones thing. I don't know that having a gradual, radical reduction in basic civil liberties, as well as the way the bailouts, everything else has been handled at an enormous, even greater concentration of power and wealth. You know my point, but I think that's great. I think you're 100% right.
And the surveillance, all these things are huge issues. We basically have a government that's run by rich people, and they're taking care of their rich friends,
Right.
And anyone who's, it's not just, obviously, the less money you have, the less white you are, the more you're going to be oppressed in this country. And it's terrifying. And, but I think many people don't realize that it's very expansive, If you're anything, less than a double-digit millionaire, you're a piece of shit. That's like, it often feels like that's how the government works. They don't care about you, because you don't have any power. And the only way people can have power is if everyone from every walk of life joins forces and fights, for everybody, So, those are things I think about, but trying to like think ahead, because even in comedy, so much of comedy is thinking ahead, where you are now, a lot of comedy is deception, that's basically what a setup is. You're throwing something out that you think is just regular, but it's actually a deception. And the punchline is, it's basically a sucker punch. It's something you don't see, but you actually should have seen it because you had a clue, so it's always thinking ahead and analyzing every situation, because even when you're doing crowd work, you're taking in so many things at once. The server's coming over there. This person went up and got to the bathroom. This guy's ignoring his girlfriend and hitting on a girlfriend at another table. And then you got some Trumpers sitting over here. You got some progressive college kids sitting over there. You're taking in all these things and trying to weave things around and lead things. So, so thinking ahead is something I'm always, but thinking ahead can also cause a lot of anxiety, and it can cause a lot of unnecessary anxiety sometimes, because you'll go in directions and be like, all right, but when you have a government, I think that's one reason I'm digressing here, but I think that's one reason that hoarding happens. Right. And there's been some shaming of hoarding. But if you think about it, one of the reasons people hoard is they know the government's not going to be there to fucking help them. Mm-hmm. So it's like every person for themselves. And that's why
that flows from the top down.
Yeah. And that's why it's been so great what, certain organizing groups have been doing in feeding people at need, whether they're sick people, elderly people, low income people, people with no income, but these are things that, and that's what's frustrating about the news sometimes. Well, they'll do this feel good story about some kids that saved up all their money from lemonade stands, and then they saved some people in this community. They gave them some food or something.
So atrocious.
They gave them some masks. It's like, that's great they're doing that, but the government should be, our taxes go to the government to help us. That's what it's supposed to be, and that's not what's happening. So that shit gets scary. Yeah,
Judah, I really hope you'll come on again and hang out with us more if you can.
Yeah.
That would be awesome. And could you? I mean, look, this show we started in 2017. We do pretty well. I'm not going to lie. But do you have any parting championship tips for the TNBS crew?
Well, just remember, everybody listening and watching and all you guys, we're fucking winners, okay? And when winners know winners, we fucking win. And we got to stick together. We got to fucking fight, man. Yeah, just fucking, be smart, keep fighting, and everybody's got to come together, man. It's like, the people in power want us to be divided. We got to come together. People have got to do it. It's always been that way, but we got to do it, But I'm around. I'll be doing a lot of, I would have already put out, I was just about to be filming a new 90-minute, stand-up film. But I can't do any live shows now. So I film lots of my sets anyway. So I'm putting together stuff, and I'll be putting out probably at least 2 new stand-up albums this year, as well as a new special. I don't know if it'll be on any paid platform. If nobody's interested in buying it, I'll just self-release it on YouTube or something. And I have an old page I didn't use for years, and I'm just starting to reactivate it. So on my Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, I'm going to start putting out clips, at least several a week. So I'll start doing that. And then I'm going to try to do some of these Zoom stand-up shows, where
awesome.
It's kind of like, it's kind of like what we're doing now, except it's just one person and then people watching. So it seems like I've watched a few shows. It seems like technologically it's a little difficult, it's a little different, but possibly doable. So that's what I'm looking into.
That's awesome. Well, Judah Friedlander, thanks so much, brother.
Yeah,
stay safe.
Much love. Stay safe. We'll do.
Much love. Stay safe. Talk to you soon. All right. That was awesome. See, we were talking about the reaction times.
I just want to say, for anybody who was wondering what the Morse code on his hat said, it did indeed say world champion. So,
yeah, no, that's his brand.
Right. Yeah. I just had to look it up. I'm like, I bet once I got the WO, I'm like, okay, I think we know. What this is.
World champion, without a doubt.
That's beautiful.
Of course. That was a lot of fun, man.
Yeah, it was.
That's so awesome. I love the bit about the oligarchy feeling like a dictatorship in humidity.
That was too good.
That was really good. I just have to say, I have watched his stand-up plenty of times, and his stand-up is really funny. And especially because, again, I'm telling you, I don't find maybe it is just what's being selected, but most of these new Netflix specials and everything are just totally unwatchable.
Yeah.
And extremely just the kind of corporate woke, just awful. And no, he's incredibly funny. And I did not watch that much 30 Rock, but it is just, it is funny. I would not have anticipated 10 years ago that the funniest character, in the writer's room on 30 Rock, that I would be bullshitting with him about politics on a thing called Zoom.
I was flashing back to seeing him on Conan, just 10 years ago, just with the hats, like that.
Yeah.
It's a great bit, because especially once the thought that he's put behind it, it is such a perfect, the guy that. What was the quote? Oh shit! I already forgot the bit already. But it's the idea that you're going to climate change, right? So it's climate change. I like that because it's feminine to basically face the worst case scenario of things. So you just have to put an optimistic scenario on it and act manly through it. And then,
I think that's a great.
I like climate change. I like Europeans need healthcare because they have weaker genetics and they aren't confident.
The embarrassing thing Like that's something I probably would have said at like 14, like at the height of like my shitheadedness.
Yeah.
They don't need it because they have weak genetics and aren't confident. That's awesome. All right, guys, we're gonna go to the post game.
Michael, sorry, can I just say something really quick?
Yeah, of course.
Just because I realized when everything was going on under the gym, I forgot to shout out Housing Justice for All, which is a really important resource for people looking for help when it comes to rent and sort of organizing around the issue. So Housing Justice for All, definitely check that out.
Awesome. You just watched a Michael Brooks Show video. Subscribe to get them all. Why wouldn't you? Don't be foolish. Click subscribe below and become a patron as well. Patreon.com/TMBS. Thanks, everybody.